section, only gangsters in it. Not a gangster or a bad bitch, then we cannot keep it. This a gangster party, yeah, I'm sipping and no mixing. By the builder, yeah, there's a.
Yeah.
All right. What's up, y'all? My name's Lucas. This is my boy SmAK. This is our first episode of the 506 Hip Hop Podcast. Today, our guest is Sean One from Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Fredericton Zone.
Yeah, what up, what up?
Yeah, let's get into it. So, Sean, how are things? Good?
Oh, yeah, very best.
Good.
Yeah, living the dream, really.
Yeah. I guess we'll hop into right away to this, I guess. So you were telling us Sean's a school teacher aside from making music.
It's true.
The coronavirus is affecting your job, huh?
Yeah, it is. I work in an elementary school setting, so it's basically a germ infestation at all times.
Yeah, that's right.
Even
They're
on
like
the
little
best of
vessels for
times,
it, yeah.
right? You have to be aware of what you're doing, what you're touching.
Yep.
So now it's just a little bit more touchy this week. So we're waiting to find out what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's scary stuff, man. Like especially like with the prime minister's wife getting it, and now people are sort of starting to take it more serious, and it's just sort of shut the entire country down at this rate.
It is. It's having an impact on a lot of things, all through North America. I mean, if you look at, South by Southwest was canceled. It's the first time in 22 years that music
Coachella
festival.
was canceled.
Coachella was pushed to a different date. Yeah.
NHL, NBA.
NHL, NBA.
That's
Major
gotta hurt
League
being a Boston
Soccer.
Bruins fan.
It does, since we were in first place.
You were like, and in first place, like by a long shot. Like,
Yeah.
definitely the best team in the league.
The Junos were canceled.
Junos, yeah.
The Junos were canceled.
Looking at international travel being banned within the next couple days potentially.
Right, so if you're an actual touring musician right now, it's definitely going to hurt your bottom line, that's for sure. Keep your
100
pockets a little bit emptier.
Because that's half the.
100%. I have.
That's
know-
pretty
I don't
much
know the
all.
actual
That's pretty
numbers.
much
I don't
all.
know
That's
the
pretty much
actual
all.
numbers,
The way
but-
that you're really earning any income right now is by touring and playing live shows and
selling
merch.
your merch.
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah. Yeah, I have promoter friends in Ontario and Quebec that have been posting on Facebook about how they have acts pulling out of dates and bars not wanting to book shows.
Right.
Like it's definitely going to affect our economy super hard. That's another thing that I read online is that like the population is going to like probably or guaranteed, you know what I mean, we're going to survive through the coronavirus issue, but the economy is what is going to really take the biggest hold. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really going to take the biggest hit. So
Well, the stocks definitely have started to go down.
100,000 buried in
yeah,
cash.
for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely time to dig out your money that you've got hidden in your shoebox. Yeah,
Buy
it's
it
definitely
in your house.
time. Yeah, to bring
Buy your
that
hand
stuff inside
sanitizer,
and count your dollars real quick. Yeah.
What's that-
Get all the
what's that
toilet
movie,
paper you need.
Where everybody fucking locked up inside the movie Purge or something.
Oh
Oh, yeah.
Or was it even that? No.
Yeah,
I
it's
think-
Purge.
yeah, I think that's what you're talking about.
But
Where
it's
they,
like how everybody kind of
but that's a little different because I think that's like one night that the government gives you to go kill everyone.
Yeah, you could do
don't, like-
basically whatever you want.
like-
Carte
they
blanche.
X out-
Carte
they X
blanche.
out
Do
rules.
whatever you want.
What do you think? Would you be down with that?
No, are you out of
Actually.
your fucking mind?
No, I would be locked inside my house for sure.
Yeah,
I would not be wandering around.
it's not even about fucking being gangster or not gangster. That's about like, I mean, any sociopath in
You
the
can
world
get-
can sneak up on you and like
get
murder
got.
your family, and
Yeah.
your children and shit. Like
Just murky
that's
real
a
fast.
lockdown situation.
That's interesting. I didn't know you're a school teacher.
I have been for 13 years, 14 years.
What grade?
Grade 5. I started as a music teacher, but then moved into the
Hence,
classroom when
Yeah, makes sense,
and started noticing that there were being cutbacks in the public education system in the music, and I was afraid that I would lose my full-time job, so I took a grade 5 classroom 12 years ago.
Smart.
I've been there ever since,
Smart longevity.
and I can incorporate music into my own classroom.
Yeah.
I mean, this year alone, I'm taking my classroom to the music festival, New Brunswick Music Festival, to sing.
Taking your
Okay.
classroom.
So what's
Yeah.
the New Brunswick Music Festival? Where is that and what's it entail?
It's just held all over. So there's competitive and non-competitive, and it's generally choirs and people who take piano lessons
Band
and singing lessons, and so you can go and you can be adjudicated to see either in a competition setting or a non-competition setting.
Mhm.
So we're non-competition setting, of course.
Yeah, just
Just go and sing. It's a song. This year in my classroom, I have some Muslim students,
awesome.
and they've never been able to participate in a Christmas type concert.
Cool.
And so this year, communicating with their parents, some of them can actually sing really well, and they wanted to be part of it. So I said, if we don't sing a traditional Christmas song, what is the likelihood of your your child coming to sing, and they all supported my song that I selected. It was a Cat Stevens song, which is now he's now Muslim, so he took a vow of silence. He's a singer from the 70s. 60s and 70s, and so we changed one of his songs and turned it more into a choir type song that they would be able to sing.
That's sick, man.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and so it worked really well. Not only their parents were happy, but a lot of other parents were happy because they were saying that we did something a little bit different, a little bit more musical.
Yeah, a little bit more musical, but also like it's important for you, like as a person, but also as like an educator to be able to take something that is so integral to who you are as a person and be able to translate it and make it inclusive.
Right.
Make it so that way everybody feels
that's what we're
comfortable
about,
and be
right?
able to.
That's what we do here
Yeah, dude, that's
in New Brunswick is we try to include everybody, and
That's right.
and the students said, we really we're very thankful because it was the first time that any teachers ever really had made that attempt to have them included.
Mm-hmm.
And we always hear things about in schools, it's ruining our tradition, or my tradition, and really my message to those people who were saying that was that it's not your tradition's going to be fine. Your tradition happens at your house. You'll go home, you'll celebrate the same way that you want, and this is something where it's an inclusive setting. So let's have everybody involved.
For sure, dude.
And the song that we sang
respectful.
is called "Where Did the Children Play?" So it's like it's a bit of a social song, right? Just to say don't forget about us, and in the times in the world it's changing so rapidly, don't forget about us. So I had a lot of parents come up to me afterwards and say, we're very excited that you're kind of using music as a way to present your message.
Yeah, 'cause it's a great platform. It's something that everybody can relate to.
The thing,
That's
what music
and,
is.
and then a lot of other teachers were saying this is unfair because you're a professional musician outside of school. So,
So we had
when
to
you're in the staff room there, and everybody's looking at this new coronavirus or whatever. No, sorry. What was it?
the song.
The song. Sorry. They're all getting funny looks and stuff.
They are a little bit, yeah. They're saying this is not fair. You play many instruments and you can arrange a song to make it fit for your style, but hey,
But you know what I mean.
What you've got,
And they probably have other types of leverage that you don't have. So
they got all kinds of talents.
If they wanted to go and make something that was as impressive and as inclusive as you are, and just sort of make it adjusted to their own strengths, they would have just as much success and just as much get as much attention. So it's more so just all you're doing is using your strength to your advantage. It's not something that they couldn't go do in another manner. It's just
that's right.
that you capitalized on it first.
That's what I did.
Exactly.
And teachers are some of the most talented people. Like some of the times you might have a teacher you had no idea they played in a heavy metal band, or because they just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You never know that they're home painting every night and they're selling their paintings for hundreds of dollars. Like
And
you
you
don't know these things.
You have a certain image to keep up while you're at school, while you're a teacher, right? Like
That's
you have
right.
to sort of like
And
be
even
professional.
especially
Be a professional at all times.
Especially even out of school.
You're a teacher 24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
They watch everything you do. They see
No
where
doubt.
you go
For
on social
sure.
media, in public. So you got to kind of watch what you're doing, what you're saying, and
But I mean, that's just
stay out of trouble.
that's good though. 'cause
That's
Yeah.
that is
protect the
super
kids,
interesting,
man.
though,
It's all
That's
about
awesome.
the kids.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So
It is.
Sean, you have I see you brought a stack of CDs with you. Let's talk about that. What you just recently dropped a project?
Yeah, I did. It's actually all the same album. I just brought multiple copies.
Yeah, of course,
But
Let's talk
yeah,
about it.
it's development.
Okay,
It's kind of shining in the light here.
let's see.
grabbing that.
So no, go for it. Came out in November of last year,
Okay,
2019. It's a collection of songs actually that I had been working on for probably about 10 years.
wow.
Anyone who really knows me and spends time in my house or comes to my studio, I would play songs for them, and they would always say, well, how can we hear this? I said, well, just come on back and I'll play it for you again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they were getting frustrated with me. They're saying this is absolutely ridiculous. So I probably had about 60 songs recorded.
And you narrowed it down to 15.
15.
Okay.
So that was a long process to do that.
And we've got some pretty notable local and Canadian talent on here too. I see you have King Woo's,
Right.
Ghetto Socks, which you're a part
Exactly.
of a group with him called
Sipset.
Sipset.
Yeah. Woos is in that group too.
Yeah.
The Sipset
Okay.
logo, just this.
The guy, the polo logo with the guy falling off the
No,
horse.
this one, the Sprite looking one.
Oh yeah.
I just for some reason, man,
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah.
You got Monarch on here, who we have sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
You
Monarch.
can't see it. You can't see
yeah.
on the camera, but
Yeah.
Tachichi.
He's also in Sipset.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of cool names on this, man.
Aquaculture's on there.
Yeah, I see that. I just got
He
to
won the CBC Spotlight or Searchlight or whatever that contest is
no
called.
way.
Black Buffalo's a record label from Halifax.
Yeah, and they have a store downtown now, don't they, in Fredericton?
No.
It's only in Halifax?
It's only in Halifax.
Okay.
They had a storefront where they sold used vinyl for a long time, but they've since closed that, and they do pop-up shops.
Nice.
And he runs the record fair, Kevin Beal.
That's awesome. Kevin Beal.
Yeah, it's his record label, and he's really, really doing a lot. He releases a lot of vinyl. This is on CD. He wanted to give it a shot, and so I said, why not? I mean, in my 27-year rap career.
27 years.
Yeah.
Give this guy his flowers, man. 27 years, man. That's a long time.
It's the first time I haven't had to do something all myself.
What's that, sorry?
It was the first time I hadn't had to do everything myself, from manufacturing to promotion to sending it out to college radio. He did it all. I do all the music, so I still did all the producing and most of the recording. Another huge help for that album was DJ Uncle Fester.
Yeah, Fester from Halifax, yeah.
He was DJing. He was DJing there for me.
That was really cool.
He's a very close friend of mine within music, and he was really the reason why this album probably came out. He really pushed that. I was in the process of mixing the album, and it was years and years and years of mixing and remixing and mixing and touching up, and I could just never find that happy spot, you know what I mean?
Being an artist.
That's right, and just being super critical of my own work, and it's actually the first time as well that I just let go of everything that I had, and I said, why don't you mix it? And he did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
He mixed it, he added cuts on a lot of songs, he helped record the guest features that were in Halifax, because I'm not there. I would go down on weekends and see people and talk to people about tracks, but he really helped me. And then he mastered the album as well.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So it's done well. You had a release show at the Capitol. How did that go?
It was phenomenal.
Awesome, man.
It was really strange.
That was in November.
No, it was in February.
Yeah, it was recent.
Yeah, it was recent. I think it was the 25th of February. It was a
Give the album
Saturday.
a little bit of time to set in.
Yeah, it's also hard to get live venues sometimes when there's, a lot of other things going on, and it's one of the only real venues that you could really play for my style of
Shout out
music.
to the Capitol, because they are one of the very few venues that continue to support hip-hop, and even
They
though
do.
every venue in Fredericton, like from Club Chrome to Speed Bumps, they've all had they've all hosted hip-hop shows, but because of, I don't know, maybe certain things going south, or the demographic, I guess, that hip-hop tends to attract, they've all sort of turned their back on it, but the Capitol has kind of always held it down and seen through all of the bullshit that does happen. Do you know what I mean? And they see the true value in being a part of the culture and supporting it and giving it a backbone to continue thriving in Fredericton.
They do. I mean, they give you a spot. I mean, we had, probably before you guys were on the scene, they had an open mic night there for hip-hop every Wednesday night for close to 10 years. Wow. And so I would have been there every Wednesday night for close to 10 years.
Nice.
And it was a good spot for us to all come together and connect and freestyle and rap. And if we ever had someone come from out of town, we booked them on a Wednesday night, and it went really well for a long, long time. But it just had run its course.
Of course.
So they wanted to try something else.
And it's hard to maintain something like that. You have to basically make it like one of your full-time jobs.
That's right.
To be able to maintain
it's a lot of work.
to keep it thriving and keep asses in the seats, so to say. You know what I mean? Keep
It's
people
true.
coming through the door. It's difficult. I know, because I book shows at the Capitol, and it every time it's not really a coin flip. Like, you tend to always make money, but it's the coin flip on whether or not it's going to be an absolute banger, or it's going to be like another Fredericton rap show where the same 25 people show up.
That's
and
right.
Get drunk and.
It was really interesting for the album release. The bill was stacked, in my opinion. Just to have
with local East Coast hip hop.
just guys, the guy in Sipset,
Sipset,
the crew that I run with. Uncle Fester was there, Ghetto Sox was there, King Woos was there, Aquaculture was there, Ambition from Halifax, who also just released a really solid album called Parallel Ports. He was there to play some material. Monarch was there. Above from First Words came up. DJS TV was there. So we had a great night. The interesting thing for me about the whole night is there weren't many people under the age of 30 in the bar.
But that's because you're like your fan base grows with you, right?
That's right.
So like the fan base that you would have curated and created as you were coming up and growing in the culture would
They
just,
were still faithful.
yeah, which is
People came from Moncton to see me play. People drove from St. John to come see me play.
it's an integral part of your success though for those people to stick around.
I know. So I was really thankful to see that. It was surprising to me when I was coming up. If I had a rap show and an opportunity to go kind of break bread and introduce myself, I was always there. And I feel now that younger people don't use that avenue as much. It's completely changed, and I'm trying to get my head wrapped around how it works now.
Yeah.
I'm so out of the loop. I mean, I don't use Spotify.
You got to get on that because it's very important.
I'm super out of the loop, right?
Even your fan base would use
Yeah, I
Spotify.
mean, I just don't know. So these are things that I'm learning, slowly learning, and trying to
what? Put your
yeah. How to use social media, I guess, to my fullest advantage.
okay.
Yeah.
Learning.
So I'm watching
Oh,
younger
wow.
people
Curve.
who are doing
You
it,
know,
right? And they create
wow.
a large fan base online.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm
and
doing right now. is
And I'm
working
curious that if it translates to live performance. Like I've yet to really see that crossover from online fan base and support, which is gigantic for some of these artists.
Well, it's like an avenue of income.
Right. And
What,
so does
on
that
the
translate to
internet?
live shows? Like I have yet to kind of witness that yet. So I'm
So,
just curious if that's
I
actually
guess-
occurring or not.
I guess where it's like the line gets drawn is whether or not the fan base that you create, because you can create a very large fan base online and still have it's extremely scattered.
Right.
And also it depends on whether your fan base is a fan base that likes to come out to shows or not. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? So, and I think another big lapse that a lot of artists sort of run into is that they don't understand, like you're saying that you don't understand how to use it, but I feel like once you got into it with the drive that you have and the ability to grind and it's in your nature to go out and get it kind of deal, because that's what you've done your entire career. You haven't needed the internet.
Whole time.
A lot of these kids don't really go as far as looking into the analytics and see where they have the most dense fan bases
Right.
and try to go to those places and try to,
Right.
because
A
I mean,
lot of it is too money too for them
and
to even
as-
get to those.
as much as you build a fan base, if you're not going and connecting face to face with them and meeting with them, the longevity of it is it's not going to be there. Not only is it not going to be there, but they're not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same level of support as it is as if you went and met with them face to face and performed in their city and sort of like, you know what I mean, shook hands and kissed babies.
Exactly.
It's super integral to your success. And this goes out to all younger guys that are working towards having a career in rap music. It's so important to go out and perform and meet these people that are supporting your music, because without that genuine connection, your next release, you can have a very successful first release and your next release be a complete flop because they don't care anymore.
That's right.
but-
It seems like you have to continuously put out new music in order to stay relevant.
Yeah,
Yep.
but you know what's one thing on the social media side of it is with fans and stuff is people are saying they want more followers and stuff, but they don't know how to take care of the followers they have.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah.
like you have to literally interact with every person that puts something on your page or gives you a compliment. You know what I mean? And people don't. They just go unnoticed without saying anything back to
And
them. That's the people that like they won't. You know what I mean? If you go and say thank you so much, that really means something to me, or whatever.
Yeah.
Try and carry a conversation out. That's how you build on the
Yeah.
internet. Without
And it's not even necessarily as far as having like you don't have to answer every DM you get, and you don't have
send
to.
a fucking
But
a heart.
just find
Yeah.
ways to post on your social media that garner engagement, that make your fans feel like they're a
Exactly.
part of something you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not always about
music.
well, it is about music, but
But
it's not always about going on Instagram and replying to every message or going on your comment section and replying to everything. It's about generating, for lack of a better word, generating like a marketing scheme that makes your fan base feel like they're involved in the process of what's going on with
To
you.
increase the interaction.
Exactly.
For instance, I mean, obviously, I produce for a lot of other people, and I make a lot of beats. And I was posting beats that I would make from the studio live onto Instagram, and I would get a lot of likes every once in a while, some flame emojis, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So I was trying to how can I increase this? And I thought one day, well, I'll put 3 or 4 beats within the same post, and I'll ask people which one's your favorite.
Yeah,
And that simple, slight adjustment to my online
presence.
presence changed everything.
Of course, yeah, for sure.
And now all of a sudden I'm getting 20 comments or plus on which beat is their favorite because they want to tell me which one they like best, or they want to rate them
That's
from their
exactly
favorite to their least favorite. And so I found that if I make a post about beats, then that's how I have to do it.
Exactly.
Right.
And doubling back, once that happens, that is when real engagement from you can kind of even skyrocket it more. Like you're responding to their comments and making them feel like Sean One is actually listening to what they have to say. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like their support and their attention isn't going unnoticed.
Right.
Which-
And of course I sell a lot of production, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so some people are always iffy. They know they like it, but will this hit with other people?
Mhm.
They see this interaction and they see that all 19 people or 20 people all
that
said
beat.
like the same beat. Then all of a sudden you check in my DMs and there's got 15 MCs who all want to buy that one in particular.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's increased
And then it
everything
comes a
in that way.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it does,
Yeah.
you know, and the
Of
price
course.
will go up. And I
Yeah.
hold pretty firm on my prices, so
Yeah,
I think I've earned it at this point.
Oh,
definitely.
27 years, bro. 27
And
years.
you know, and it works out pretty well for me.
So 27 years, Sean. Let's go back. Like, how did it start for you?
What was your first hip hop memory? Like,
Beastie Boys.
what song do you remember?
Beastie Boys, just the Beastie Boys when they're still kind of in their punk rock phase, moving into hip hop. You know, so
That's
would've
that's what
been
got
like
you
what
into
year?
it.
that's when it kind of connected. What year? I think I
mid-nineties?
was.
So
Oh
27 years ago.
yeah,
Where-
it was very very very
Or
early
83?
90s.
83 probably.
No, I was born in
Or
79.
93.
Yeah, I was born in 79, so it would have
It's
been
probably like
90.
93.
Yeah.
Would've been when the
years
Beastie
ago.
Then when
Boys
I
sort of became
started
prominent.
kind of like, you know, really hitting hard. I mean, I skateboarded
Yeah.
growing up. So I
Another- and
heard the Beastie Boys.
Another part of hip hop, like early hip hop culture, was definitely skateboarding. So it makes sense that you got into it through that. So what happened? Did you you started rapping? You started making beats first,
Started rapping first.
Okay.
I just started rapping at home. Didn't tell anybody.
of course.
Rapping in the mirror.
Yeah, rapping in the
Yeah,
mirror.
with the
Yeah,
comb?
rapping in the mirror. Yeah, with a comb probably. Probably lip sync Vanilla Ice and some corny stuff like
Nice.
that. Moved to the Beastie Boys. Found some things that really started to kind of hit home with me,
Resonate
and I
with
could,
you, yeah.
I started to connect with a little bit more than Vanilla Ice.
Mhm.
Um,
And then
You
from there,
know.
it just sort of grew.
it just grew. It ballooned very fast. It was called Columbia House. I don't know if you know about this.
Wasn't Columbia House where you could order CDs and
Yeah.
yeah,
DVDs?
the
But
magazine.
it was cassette tapes.
It was like, and you
I
get a
remember-
deal if you
I
ordered like
remember,
3.
yeah.
So
I remember when
you-
they did DVDs. And
Yeah,
they
so
did
you'd get
CDs.
13 cassette tapes for a penny, and then every month they would send you something, or you had to buy something.
13 cassette tapes for a penny.
Right.
Wow.
So I think my first,
There's no way you're turning a profit on that.
Well, no, because then they mail you stuff at full price. So
Okay.
when you can't stop it, so it just starts showing up, and you're like, oh dear, what did I get myself
Pre-internet
into?
before you could
This
just hit
was
a button.
it was a catalog, and you picked
It's actually
stickers out. And
It's so funny how many people are going to listen to this that are like more of like, say, like my demographic, that are
Right.
younger people that are going to be like, what the fuck?
What is Columbia House? Well, there was
What?
Columbia House and BMG. They were the
Yeah.
two kind of record distributors
That's
that
funny,
worked
yeah.
that way. And so I remember just getting the catalog, and anything that had rap on it, I was buying.
Yeah, for sure.
Heavy D and the Boys, even R&B, Boys to Men,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. Those were my jams in
Who'd
back
you,
in the day.
Did you have like any friend like growing up? For me, I when I first started rapping, like I found a buddy that like wanted to rap too,
Right.
right, and it was just like me and him for like a long time because nobody else was like kind of into it at the same, because like that's 2005 where it was
Right.
still like the just end of G Unit era,
Yeah.
50, like it was still, and it was people were still kind of like
So the first
not-
person that kind of brought me out, this is a really roundabout story, but the first person who kind of brought me out to actually say, hey, rap. I had a friend, he still raps, he goes by Solar C, he's in Toronto, he's in a group called Gill Breathing, with Mathematic, with, that's his cousin, Eloquent, who's a very dope producer from Toronto, and then S or ES, I'm not sure how you say his name, so I apologize on that one. And they were together, so Solar C arrived at my high school in grade 12.
Okay.
And he's from Trinidad originally. He was living in Calgary before that. and he came. And during the summertime, we had open tryouts for a basketball team. I played basketball as well. I mean, I'm a tall guy.
Like 6'2",
6'4".
6'4".
Yeah.
Well,
And so he came, and I don't know what happened. We started a conversation, and he must have needed to drive home or something after practice. And I said, sure, jump in the whip. And he looked through my CD booklet, and it was Mobb Deep, Goody Mob,
automatic connection right there.
Pete Rock, Smooth the Hustler, first Biggie
Rakim.
album. Rakim would have definitely been in there.
Just one question. I see your picture on Facebook with Rakim. I wanted to ask you, was Rakim like one of your favorites?
Yeah,
Or
he's
like,
definitely. That's why that
the god-
picture's
the god MC.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
I
is up
figured.
there. Cool G Rap, Big Daddy Kane.
A lot of East Coast stuff.
A lot of East Coast New York rap is where where my heart was at.
And it's
right
where it
from
was
the
created.
get-go. Yeah,
You want to know
it's still
something
there.
really funny? When I was 13 years old, this is how much I loved hip hop, and I knew that whatever. I just wanted to. You can ask my parents, man. I just wanted to run away to New York when I was 13 by myself and just go. I thought I was gonna be able to do it. Like, you know what I mean? But like,
No, New
you're
York's a
kid-
whole
you're
different
kid
ballgame.
and, Yeah, you just don't even know.
So he saw the CDs and he said, "This wow, like okay, this is cool."
Yeah.
You know, and we kind of hit it off, and then he actually eventually asked me, "Do you rhyme?" Because he did.
Yeah, of course.
And I said, yeah, a little bit. So he convinced me eventually, after a lot of hesitation, you know, he convinced me to spit some bars, and so I did. He said, that's not that bad, I think was his words. That not that bad.
That's you know what I mean. That's as promising as it can be the minute that you start, right?
Right. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And so by the end of the year, we had a bit of a falling out because we were so competitive with each other in basketball. And then we reconnected when I was living in Halifax. He played ball for St. Mary's University, and then he moved on, and now I'm actually sending him beats to rhyme on. So
Nice.
it's a weird thing how hip hop can bring people together like that.
For sure. So, guy Solar C, where did it go from there? When did you start recording, playing live shows?
It stopped.
Just click. Yeah, just click exit and record. Do it on both.
There's the first hip-hop.
No, it's okay.
We're good.
Yeah. So, where you went with Solar C? That's sort of where everything kind of started out.
Yeah.
How when did you start recording music and getting into your own shows and touring? And because I know you have
that
actually have a
was,
pretty extensive background.
Yeah, that was in 95, 96 when I started there. And then I went to UMBSJ, my first year of university, and I reconnected with my friend Above. He was in university at the same time, first year. And I kind of noticed that this little group of dudes, they must be into rap music. At the time, it was pretty easy to pick out who was in rap music just because of the way people dressed.
Yeah.
There weren't too many white rappers floating around. It wasn't as popular yet.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this group of guys, they were clearly into rap music, so I kind of gravitated towards them naturally. And then through some discussion, we realized that we had been really good friends when we were 3 years old, and we went to play school in kindergarten together.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I went home and I asked my mom and dad about this fella, and he's like, yeah, I used to go to his birthday parties and everything. And we kind of started at that point a crew called Vet Crew. And it was a group of guys in St. John. There were 5 of us originally, then it became 6. And we connected with Joe Run.
Joe Run Bombay from
Halifax. And that was the very beginning of the internet.
Yeah.
We connected with him on a website. We took a chance. We drove down to Halifax and we recorded in between Christmas and New Year's of 1997.
And for those of you that don't know who Joe Run is, you have to look him up on the internet. He's definitely a pioneer of not only Halifax hip hop, but maritime and East Coast Atlantic Canadian.
And worldwide now. I mean, he hangs out with guys from De La Soul and Jazzy Jeff and Questlove and Biz Markie. And
really somebody who would have been the first person to garner any attention or have any eyes set on the East Coast.
Right.
I would say, for
sure. And so we actually recorded with Classified. That was who we were in his were in his basement apartment with Joe Run and Classified in 1997.
Nice.
No, this was in the south end of Halifax. Actually, we had driven down.
So
was
living in Halifax.
He
left Enfield for a while.
he
Was
was
living in the city for a while.
So this would have been near the start of his career, I assume.
That was, I think he had 1 album out at that point.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool, man.
I just read that he was supposed to do Vince Carter's last game or something.
Oh, I don't know.
No, the NBA. They were going to Toronto to, like if Vince Carter was
To retire his jersey or
this was
something.
his last game
Yeah.
in Toronto, and him and somebody else. I'm sorry, I didn't remember your name or whatever, but they were supposed to do halftime performers. Or
That
something.
doesn't surprise
And
me.
then, of course, I don't know. He just wrote it on his Instagram that had some sad news today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Wasn't able to do that.
it is what it is, man.
And the interesting thing about Classified is the guy has not changed in as long as I've known him.
Even in his looks.
He's the exact
He
same.
literally
He's
looks
like
the
the
exact same
exact
as he
same
was
guy. Like if I ever messaged him, he would respond to me. If I ever said I needed something, I'm sure he would help.
I've heard
He's
that about
he's
him.
welcomed me into his home in Enfield with just me. I'm cruising by and say, hey, I'm going to stop in, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. So those, he's top notch guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
East Coast.
East
For sure.
Coast. Yeah.
That's what a lot of humble people out here, man.
There are.
You know, that's one thing I take pride in, man, is being, humble and just being nice and positive. Like, I just don't have time anymore for any
Yeah.
of that other stuff. Man.
No,
It's
there's
just-
no. It's
It doesn't do anybody
Acting
any
like you're the
good.
biggest
Doesn't
dick
do
in the
anybody
room,
any
you know
good.
what I mean? Like it's important to maintain like a certain level of level-headedness.
That's right.
Even if you gain notoriety or
That's
if
right.
you have a certain amount of accomplishments, it's good. Like you know what I mean? It's still good to be a fucking human being.
That's
No,
right.
Of course. That's what it's all about, man.
And so we recorded with Vet Crew. We must have recorded 40 or 50 songs with Joe Run over the course of maybe 3 or 4 years, and then unfortunately, the music just never really came out.
Okay. Seems to be an issue. You got like 60 songs.
I know.
recorded and-
This was really before computers were used to make rap music.
Mm.
So it was
Oh, yes.
samplers and 4-track tapes, and you had to take your music from a 4-track tape to a DAT tape, and then have fun.
How big's a 4-track tape?
It's the same as a cassette tape. It's the exact same as a cassette tape.
So do you think
just
that-
recorded on one side?
Do you think that if you had all of this technology at your fingertips and the way that the internet works, that you can reach a global audience by clicking post, do you think that your rap career would have potentially been went down a different path? Do you think you would have been more focused, especially when you were younger and you had that maybe
don't
more
know.
energy? And
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I mean,
because you're very
it could-
talented,
it
of course.
Could,
you know what I mean?
it could have.
And your music resonates with a lot of people.
It does.
It would have been a lot, maybe not simpler, but you would have had a lot better of a chance to reach the audience that you're trying to reach with the.
See, when I started creating music, it wasn't as accessible as it is now.
Exactly.
So in order to get into a studio, you either had to have talent or money, or a
Mhm.
combination of both.
Yeah.
And within the crew I was working with, we didn't have all that much money. We were all young, between the ages of 18 and 20. We didn't have that much money. So obviously we had a little bit of talent, or we had something that somebody noticed and said, hey, look, we can work with that, and we'll work with the budget that you do have.
Mm-hmm.
We did pay. We paid out of
Of
pocket.
course, you have to.
But, we would go down, and Joe had a little studio space at the Kyber Cafe on Barrington Street. And we would literally pull in there on a Friday afternoon, and we would sleep on the floor and eat peanut butter sandwiches and stay in that recording studio the
But-
entire weekend.
It maybe it's like SmAK laughs a little bit, but it's like I grew up playing in bands,
Right.
and that's where I sort of like had my feet wet with music from a younger age.
Yeah.
And that's so like I think a lot of people get, and not saying SmAK that you have this idea, but I'm saying that a lot of younger artists have this like epiphany or like this pipe dream that your come up is going to be fucking glorious, and that you're
Yeah,
going to
it's-
like be that you're going to be at that you're going to be sleeping at the W every night, and
Yeah,
that
no,
people are
it's
going to
the
be
complete
giving you a hand.
opposite.
It's so not, man. It's like
It's
I
the
remember
complete
being
opposite.
15 years old cutting records in St. John with Adam Dinkhorn, who's an audio engineer there that runs a studio. And I remember eating like cold alfagettis out of like cans that I literally like have a hand crank. Have no access to really anything. It was so
Yeah.
such a
Constant
primal grind where it's like I was doing, and same with you. I'm assuming you're doing anything that you could to sort of provide yourself the opportunities that you were looking for. Like
Yeah.
it didn't matter.
Music came first.
Exactly. It didn't. It wasn't all. It wasn't like silver linings and gold plates. It was like I'm literally eating cold fucking soup out of this dirty can with an unwashed spoon because
I just want to be.
because
here
I
and
want to
make
be. I need to be here.
Yeah.
I can't be home right now because I
Right.
need to be doing this right now, and this is what I want to do. So I think that's maybe just you saying that sort of. I think that's a big testament to who you are as a person, and I think that it's something that a lot of younger artists can take
Well, I
from
was
and
gonna say-
apply to their own lives. Is that like if you really want this, and you really want to go somewhere with this, and you really want to be committed and be taken seriously, like you have to have those nights where you're laying on somebody's floor eating peanut butter sandwiches, and no, you're not eating lobster
or you're
and
standing,
steak.
or you're standing on the side of the Trans-Canada Highway because nobody picked you up hitchhiking that night, and you're looking for a place to sleep.
Exactly.
The amount of times I hitchhiked from, so I was born and raised in St. John, and the amount of times that hitchhike from St. John to Halifax is unreal.
Yeah,
You know?
which like in 2020 I don't recommend because there's so many sociopaths.
Oh, I've got
and
crazy stories about hitchhiking.
I bet, dude.
Oh my!
Yeah, 2020
oh my
probably
word.
isn't has nothing to do with it. It's probably just more obvious now that you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not a
So I hitchhiked a
good
lot,
idea.
spent a lot of nights sleeping in bus stations because
Mhm.
I didn't make it the whole way. And then, seeing how much money I could scrape together to maybe purchase a bus ticket or a train ticket from Moncton to Halifax.
You say,
Let's hear one of the stories. Let's hear like the craziest
I got a
hitchhiking
question.
story.
Do you got any? I want to ask a question about Cess from St. John.
Okay.
Okay.
He was in vet. He was
give you a little
he was
backstory?
yeah, he was in vet crew.
Yeah,
I actually
so-
gave him his rap name.
So that guy, I saw him the first time I ever saw him was I'm sure you guys remember this, the Obi Trice concert,
Right.
2007
Pretty sure-
April.
Pretty
in
sure
St.
Monarch
John,
was there
in St.
too.
John, but anyways, yeah, you were definitely there. I remember seeing you on stage, whatever. Not whatever, but anyway. So I saw Cess there, man. You know what I mean? For some reason, I ended up getting his email because Israel
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. I had him on Facebook somehow. But anyways, for years and years and years, I've talked to Cess, and I literally just reconnected with him like a couple weeks ago, man. And like, I don't know, man, just the relationship that I've built with him, and I don't know. But the fact is, I just want to ask you any questions or any stories you got on about Cess.
See, Vet Crew was a 5-man group in St. John, and we used to hang out in a parking lot of a school.
Okay.
That's where we could be found. Friday nights, Saturday nights, Wednesday nights, we were there, and we were probably rapping. It's all we did. We hung out together nonstop, and we rapped all the time. And he had moved to St. John with his parents, and he would stroll over to the school, for some extracurricular activities.
Yeah, sure.
And we kind of connected, and we're like, who's this guy? And then we find out that he's into rap, and then we find out that he raps. But he really wasn't taking it very serious at that time, and we kind of just brought him in. We opened up our arms and said, why don't you join the crew? And he joined very quickly. And I remember we were sitting actually one night inside of a car, and the windows were a little foggy. And at the time, I'm still into graffiti. And I think I tagged on the window in the fog Cess.
Yeah.
CESS. Like, I don't know. I just kind of tagged it and was doing little decals around it. And he kind of looked at that and said, can I use that as my rap name? I was like, yeah, sure.
And there was that's his born day as a rapper then.
Yeah,
I guess
pretty
he was
much.
Sort of inaugurated.
Yeah. And so he's from Sackville, Nova Scotia. And so he had connections within the rap. I mean, guys that he went to high school with Knucklehead, and at the time there was a group called the Connected Crew, which was White Mike and KL or Klepto. And so he knew these guys. So we would actually go down to Sackville with him, and he would introduce us to a lot of people as well. So it kind of all worked out.
It's really cool. It's a testament to how and it's also a testament to how closely knit the East Coast music scene is, right?
Yeah,
It's like everybody is so accessible out here, and
it is.
maybe a lot of people don't use that to their fullest advantage.
And it's
but-
funny because even like the younger cats that are doing things, I'm watching.
Yeah, of course.
Just to let you know,
Yeah.
I am watching. I am watching you. And there are very bright moments.
I got a young cat. He did a video for you, Matt Hinchy.
Yes.
How'd you meet him? How did that?
Uh,
Shout out Matt Hinchy.
yeah, Matt's a great
Mathematical.
guy. Mathematical's is a good dude. And the guy can actually rap.
Rap his ass off.
Rap. The guy can rap.
And he'll knock you the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's the funniest shit about it.
So like I actually don't know how that connection came about originally, but it might have been through a mutual friend.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Matt, like you said,
yeah, maybe he just kind of started appearing on shows, and I was like, okay, this.
and you're somebody of his, like the type of hip hop that he's into. He would
You'd
look
be
up
like-
to you,
you'd
and
be like his older brother, in a
Yeah,
way.
he definitely makes the rap stuff more my style.
Exactly.
He does branch out for sure.
of course, yeah, he's definitely a
but
modern
he's
rapper
got
as
he's
well,
got
but-
he's got some talent there for sure.
Oh, he's amazing, bro.
And I think I actually just reached out on social media. Hey, do you want to shoot a video for me? I'll trade you some beats, some production. And he
word.
picked out a bunch of beats, and we
Amazing.
shot the video. And he turned that video around in like 2.5 weeks. Meanwhile, he had a professional boxing fight in
Bermuda.
Bermuda,
Yeah.
What was the song for that?
called "Let It Go."
Let
So
It
it's
Go.
actually the first song on the album.
Which you can find the video on YouTube, correct?
You can find the video on
Black
YouTube.
Buffalo
On the
Records.
Black Buffalo YouTube
Yeah.
page, because I actually don't have one.
Yeah, which you should.
Yeah, look.
Is
look,
that a
there's
su-
not-
is that
there's
is that
not
a su-
lot of-
is that a surprise?
There's not a lot of content of you on YouTube, really.
No, because I really
if-
didn't
yeah.
shoot too many videos in my
Where-
past. I
so-
just something that I had to start doing now. And actually, the first video that I put out for this album was called "League of My Own," and that video was shot in Halifax by Chan Hayes, who's another producer who has a crazy album called "Here." It's got everybody from Guilty Simpson to Benny the Butcher. Yeah.
I thought that park was downtown. In
No.
Officer what is that
No.
called? Not Officer Square.
Yeah, no, that's all in
the one with the
Halifax.
pool?
Oh, Queen Square.
Queen Square. I thought
yeah.
that was in Queen Square.
No, that's all in Halifax actually. And Chan Hayes shot that video. Uncle Fester directed and paid for it.
Mhm.
That's how much he has believes
yeah.
in my album. He paid for that,
Shout out.
and Ghetto Socks did all the editing for the video. So they just put that video together, and we actually shot that 2 years ago. Because that's how long this album has been
the
putting it
warehouse,
out,
if
and
not
and if not longer. And I mean, I never put the cart before the horse, so I held on to that video because I wanted to make sure this album was coming out before I put a video out and said, album coming soon. And then it's 2 years later, and people have completely forgotten.
Yeah.
So I wanted the album to come out, announce that the album, have the physical CDs in my hand, then make the announcement, then release the video.
Which is like a step that I've even personally sort of taken in my own career, is that like a lot of the times that you sort of hype things up and you yourself get excited about it and things don't necessarily pan out the way that they should,
Right.
and then you're kind of like leaving your fan base on in a bit of a cliffhanger situation.
That's true.
It's so important to have all of your ducks in a row before you start really pushing, and it makes your push 10 times easier.
10 times
and 10
easier.
times less stressful.
That's right, because you actually have something to push, not just
It's
not
the
just a
playing-
dream.
It's the playing of chess, man.
And it sounds
It's
so
literally what
easy.
it is.
It sounds so simple and so easy, but it's not.
But
it's
with the
not.
accessibility to social
know.
media, people kind of get hot
For
and
me,
horny, and
yeah.
all of a sudden they
I'm the
throw
same way.
they throw a message up there, and it's not the best representation of themselves. And then what happens is that you make this message, okay, this is coming. Everyone gets excited about it. It doesn't show up. The second time you make the message is coming, there's still some excitement. The third time, people are starting to go,
They're like,
yeah,
"Where the
yeah,
fuck is
right,
it?"
yeah, right, skip.
Yeah.
And then when you do drop your project, you've lost their interest.
Yeah, or even if you haven't lost their interest, you've hyped it up so much for so long that there's no way that you could live up to the expectations.
There's no hype left.
It's like, wow, you've been hyping this for like 2 years. Like, you've had 2 years to work on it. Like, what the fuck is this garbage?
Like,
Like, this
is
sounds
that
like you
is
did
that
this,
like
like,
the
2
not the
weeks ago.
reason why Detox never came out? You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
Dre
right?
didn't want to ruin the. Well, it's
The
not. I
hype.
don't want to say. I don't know exactly, but it was along those lines.
It was
It's
just-
honestly like, and
it
I
has
like,
to be.
obviously I'm not like some
Do you
huge
think
like
the
music
Detox
A&R.
music was on any of that Compton album?
Oh,
Or do you think it was
probably.
it was
Probably
really
half of
different?
it, or at least the
Probably.
beats.
Probably.
They say Dre's got something else coming. But
No, but that's the like, and
He'll
like I
always
said,
have
I'm
some
not like
problem,
some like big music A&R, but like don't at this rate, you don't even drop it. You know what I
I
mean? Like,
wouldn't.
don't drop it. Just
Start
sit-
what
something
are
new.
some like albums that were supposed to come out? Can you think of that never came out? That
Well,
you
didn't
wanted?
Guns N' Roses have an album too, supposedly recorded and for years and years and years, and that never came out either?
Yeah, well, I think they had like a body of
What
work
about
done.
that
Yeah.
Wu-Tang album? I know that.
No, it came out.
No,
That's just one copy
Martin
of it.
Shkreli.
Yeah, but did
Yeah.
they play it? It hasn't been played yet, has it?
No, they
Like
sold it for like over $1 million
I know,
to
but-
Martin Shkreli, and that's like what they're doing with it. That was like their marketing.
but
plan.
And I
They-
think when
he
he got
lost it.
when
He
he got
lost it,
arrested, I
bro.
think he had to forfeit
Exactly,
the
yeah.
album.
And now, so what's the
and
government? has it?
and he also, it was also the Carter 4 or the Carter 5 or whatever that he bought too, and that was a part of the seizure as well. The Lil Wayne
Yeah.
album that was supposed to come out that never came out.
So the Carter 5 that was put
Carter
out,
5, yeah.
but the one that was put out, they were two different.
I
do you
think maybe it was a different Lil Wayne album, but I know that Martin Shkreli had one of the albums, and I think that somebody had like threatened him about it. Too.
I have no clue. That Wu-Tang album, there's documentaries about it. Even the guys in the Wu-Tang are not exactly that pumped
Well,
about
I
that. They
watched
didn't know
something
that
the
they
other
were
day.
working on an
Yeah,
album.
they said-
It's a producer from overseas that actually produced that whole
That
thing.
was
And
with RZA.
yeah, I was friends with RZA, and
He would take them in the studio, get them to rap on a beat
Right.
that wasn't actually the song. and then
yeah,
he would take their
it was
verse.
it was a convoluted
I
way of
understood.
putting an album together.
Yeah, and he would take their verse and then put it on the other thing, and just with the other rappers, and then nobody knew what songs they were gonna be on together.
Well, not only that, but who got the money?
Yeah, for sure.
Where'd that money go?
But you know what I mean, and that's another.
Was it you God that was he's suing though?
Oh, I don't.
Or-
I wouldn't.
yeah, I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure
How
blame
many
him.
how many members of Wu Tang
Or
are there?
he's checking it.
17. 17
Oh, I
official
don't know
members?
about all the different affiliates.
So like who? How are you gonna break the bread between 17 people anyway?
Oh yeah, and which 17 are on the album?
Exactly.
You know, I don't think there are 17 in the actual Wu-Tang crew itself.
Just
There's
like
definitely
Do you know what
affiliates,
is-
all the
so-
different affiliates too. So
When they did their albums, what do you think they did with their how it was broken up to so many people? Do you think they all got even percent, or do you think they
No.
got for
No
their
chance.
no,
RZA
Okay.
definitely made the
Well,
most money.
Do you know what's super cool, man? Is like Proof from D12
yeah,
or whatever. Like he made that's what one of their clauses was on all those projects. is
Yeah.
that he
Everybody got
said-
paid the
He
same.
said he's like, we're doing this. It doesn't matter what song you're on, and like long live Proof, man. April 11th, 2006, man. That was one of the saddest days of my life, man. And I'm just an Eminem stan. And anyways, long story short is I will never forget that, and just shout out to Proof. But that whole concept of you're in a group and everybody, doesn't matter if you're on the song
right,
or not, you're still gonna get,
yeah,
especially royalties now, like for the whole Spotify's and stuff. People are just bringing in checks monthly, or I don't know, quarterly, however it's paid out. But it's just
yeah. I'm not
you
sure.
you make your own music now, and you put it on these platforms and stuff, and as long as it's timeless music, it's like investments, like
Right.
It's like, you know what I mean? Like you can leave that to your kids.
You can,
Like
you can. And I try to do that with my music. I try not to put a timestamp on it. If you heard my music, you might think it comes from this era.
back to Dr. J. He says, this is what I heard. He says, never say a exact date in your song. 'cause
Yeah, a lot of
it'll,
90s hip hop artists do that.
what do you call
It's
it?
96.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it doesn't come out for 10 more years.
But so you're saying that you try not to put a timestamp on your music. You just try to make it so that way it's music. Just
That's
music
right.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important, man. For
It
sure.
is important.
Yeah.
So there's no gimmicky stuff in your songs that are hot at the time where all of a sudden it disappears.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the Triton keyboard sound was real hot there for about 2003 to 2007.
Okay.
And you can definitely pick those sounds out now. The Fruity Loop hand clap.
Yes. Yeah. Like
Right.
the DJ Mustard.
Right, that
sound
Fruity
and
Loop
stuff.
hand clap, you know, you can pick out that now.
Mm-hmm.
Auto-tune if not used correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick that out now. Like, okay, you're a little late to the game on that one, right? You're
Mhm.
still trying to push that. Now, of course, auto-tune is used correctly.
What do you think, of the
It's
space,
fine.
like hip hop today, like the space we're in,
Yeah.
especially with all the like. Well,
Um,
it's just like there's just my opinion of the drug culture and stuff, and like I saw shout out to Drink Champs, Capone, or sorry Noriega, and DJ Enough. I saw Wayne on there, man, and he had a Percocet chain. It says Percocet.
He also looked like he was dying.
Yeah, well, but like Wayne, and then he says
Yeah, it's
they say
unfortunate.
they don't do nothing, and then you know what I mean?
Well, he
Like
doesn't
the
say
double
that.
cup has
He doesn't
already
say
become.
that they don't do anything though. He definitely recognizes the risks.
But
It's
it's
that he
like-
doesn't care.
And all these kids, man, are dying. Like I'm a recovering addict myself, and just I don't know, man. The drug culture. There's
I
always
think
gonna
what
be
SmAK
drugs.
I think what SmAK is trying to get to though is what is your take on
the
where like
message.
what the climate of hip hop culture is right now? What do you think of like how
See,
the ideologies that are being pushed, and do you think that there is still a glimmer of hope for the type of hip hop that say resonates with an artist like yourself? Do you think
Well,
that
lyrics are coming back.
do you think that there
Well,
is
they never went anywhere.
there is still something there for the hip hop to its core fan?
yeah.
Or do you think that it's on its way out? So who would you be listening to, and what would you think of?
See, when we were creating music when we first started, rap music was very competitive.
Of course, yeah.
So you'd hear a beat, you'd hear a verse, you'd hear a song, and you'd go, I can do something that's better than that. And so you'd work. You'd hustle. You'd get in the studio. You'd try to create something that you felt was better than that. I'm finding now people are hearing songs and hearing beats and hearing production and hearing verses, and they're going, I can do that. And so they're not creating something that's new. They're not pushing the envelope as much anymore. They're creating more of the same,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
right? Because they see, oh, that works for them, then that's going to work for me. And so that pushing, it's happening, but it's happening in smaller steps now.
Yeah.
And it's happening in different areas.
It's all
So
about the wave.
you'd say that it's like progressing a lot slower than it did originally.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are artists now. I mean, there are artists for everybody. I'm sure there are artists that you guys listen to. I have no idea who they are.
Of course, yeah.
Right. I mean, I probably know the staples that you listen to.
Yeah.
And maybe I've heard some names, but there are definitely names that I don't know.
So in 2020, who are some modern artists that do resonate with you?
Anything that's Griselda.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right. Anything that's Griselda. Sky Zoo just put out a new album with
Yeah.
Pete Rock. It's
Shout out
very
Pete Rock.
solid. Quell Chris. Very dope. Blue from the West Coast, very dope. And then of course I'm still going back to the same artists that are putting out things that that I hear. But Fester, he puts me up on so many artists that they still hold true to the roots of rap music, but they are still pushing it forward a little bit more than that traditional
and keeping
sound.
it modern, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of good music out there right now. You just have to kind of look for it and decide what you want and what you want to listen to and what you want to support.
There's an audience for everything.
There is.
You know what
Well,
I mean?
so like that's like the thing too with the internet, where it does come with obviously certain things being shoved down your throat. One of the better parts about the internet is that it does give you the opportunity to find artists and curate your own taste,
Right.
and find things that you do like, regardless of all of the, I'll say, like the oversaturation in hip hop right now. There are, like, the internet does give you the opportunity to sort of like delve away from it and find what resonates most with you.
Yeah, you
which
can
is a
definitely
good
pick
thing.
and choose. You just
Yeah.
have to look for it, you know what I mean? You got to look through the bins. Like if you're going into a record store and you used to flip through the CDs or you flip through the vinyl records.
Now you flip through Spotify.
Now
or
you got to flip
flip
through something
YouTube.
on the internet. Yeah.
Who's your favorite in Griselda?
How to say Benny?
Benny.
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 Yeah.
the
He's
voice-
got one coming. He's
bro,
got a song
the
coming out with
silent-
Drake.
Man,
Yeah,
did
I
you
saw
hear
that.
That's a big. I mean,
That's
as much
wild.
as maybe
He
if
has a
Drake
song
isn't,
coming with
That's-
Drake.
even
Yeah,
if
I
Drake's
saw
not
that.
up your alley, like
That's
that's
wild.
That's
it's
just
such a big cosign for him, and it means so much for the
Oh.
people that do like his music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's gonna
Thought Benny
it's gonna
was
give him a
on.
bigger,
He's
a
really
larger
gonna be-
platform.
So I kind of wonder if is song going to be along the style of Drake's style, or is it going to be Benny's style with Drake
Drake is an
incorporated?
artist that I think
He morphs.
he morphs.
I
He
know
sort
he
of like
does.
he tends to like grow
Go
into the
with-
shoes that you give him. Like if you
Yeah, I know that.
if you give him an R&B song, he's gonna try to match that energy. If you give him like an island sounding song, he's gonna try to match that energy. If you give him a rap song, like
Yeah.
a Benny the Butcher song, I think he's gonna try to like go back to 2005 Drake, who's hungry. And
So who
and-
knows, right? Because
exactly.
I know his original influence were Little Brother.
Yeah.
It was Fonte and Ninth Wonder. Like I know, like if you listen to Fonte from Little Brother and you listen to some Drake, you can hear the influence.
course,
there,
yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah, people kind of mistake Drake for being this kid who grew up in the suburbs and had like this super
TV
lavish life.
show, yeah.
And which obviously that was definitely a part of his story, but Drake is somebody that definitely holds hip hop culture near and dear to his heart. As much as he,
Yeah, I don't know
and
too.
the
I don't know too
Memphis-
much about him
the Memphis
personally,
roots, I
but
don't know
yeah,
the
I know that
Memphis-
his uncle played in
Yeah.
Graham Central Station, the funk band.
yeah,
so
and his
I
father
know
was a
that.
musician as well. He was like
Yeah.
a soul and funk musician.
Yeah.
So he's definitely deeply rooted in that culture.
Definitely.
All right, so what's the plan? Are you gonna do some more shows? Do you plan on putting out more videos? Are you gonna try to get this
Champagne and
streaming
Lemonade, what's that?
platforms?
Champagne Lemonade.
Yeah, what's that?
That's a track with King Woos.
Yeah.
There's talks about doing a video for that one.
Awesome.
There are talks about doing the track Old News with Monarch as a video with Matthew Madical.
So I hit you-
There's a show for most of the Sipset crew in Halifax on April 3rd.
Perfect.
We're just kind of waiting to see now. There's a lot of conversation whether or not this show is going to happen or not.
Yeah, I'm in the same situation with the Capitol right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of a scary time to host a show, especially as an artist, where it's like everybody uses those mics, and
Yeah.
as much as you wouldn't want to be the one that that has to cancel the show or not show up because of it. It's like
sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
and yeah, and if you're around people, if there's people in your life that are extremely susceptible to that kind of stuff, you'll transfer it to them, and you're risking somebody else's life, not just your
So
own.
that's kind of what it is. I mean, I'm always producing beats. It's not something that I ever stop doing. I might go periods of time where I don't post anything online, but I'm still producing. I got a few ideas up my sleeve that I'm gonna.
Do you have any kids in school that are like really into rap that know you're a rapper? And a producer?
They don't really know I'm a rapper. I try my hardest not to promote my own music amongst 10-year-olds.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, last year was the first time I had a student in my class that he had a YouTube channel. He had rap songs.
Okay.
He made the beats on GarageBand, and
Wow.
and although some adults saw it and laughed at it because he had some wild dance moves and some kind of quirky little lyrics, but I saw it and thought it was genius.
Yeah, man.
I said, this kid's 9, 10 years old, wanting to do this on his own. He's gone to his parents, obviously, and said, hey, will you buy me a little microphone and will you buy me a little camera? And they did, and they supported it. And when I found this out, I thought this was pretty cool, and I have an iPad, so I brought the iPad into school, and I put GarageBand on it, or has it on it for him. And I showed him a few little things. Now, of course, he's making a different style of rap music than me, but I could show him how to make the hi-hats go fast.
Yeah, for sure. And you can show him like it's just good for him to have somebody who's has a lot of knowledge in working like digital audio workstation like DAW and like even for you, it's probably exciting to see that come out in one of your students where it's
it was amazing.
Great, now we're at, like, we actually have like something in common, even if you're 10 years old, like there's like
It's a connection.
Yeah, there's a connection there. We can
So if he finished his work early, he would be allowed to go to the back of the classroom, put some headphones on, and make some beats.
Hell yeah.
Right?
For sure.
What's the deal with phones in like a school like that? Like
They're a little young, so they don't really
phones.
have them.
They don't have phones,
And if they do, they're in
grade
their book.
five?
If they do, they're in their book bags.
They're 13, grade 5, 12?
No,
10 years old. 9 and 10. Started
Don't
as
give your
9,
10-year-olds
10, 11
phones,
years
man.
old. Yeah, they've got them, but they just kind of keep them in their book bags.
I'm not saying I agree
No,
with them,
for sure.
but
yeah.
I just wonder, man, because
Yeah, they have.
I was told in, like,
they
high
have them.
schools and stuff. Like I remember, I was in high school in 2006, man, and when phones were just like, you know what I mean, there was the Razor. Remember the Razor?
Well, no,
Flip,
because
whatever.
I was a
But-
late bloomer when it came to cell phones too.
You weren't allowed to have your phone, like, really in
No,
class
no.
or nothing. But nowadays you're allowed.
And
to
I
have
still
your
did it.
Phone.
Yeah, I think there's certain rules that they put in
They
place
have,
to
like,
kind of
they have
control
free
that.
internet at school. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
they do.
You know?
Oh,
The
yeah.
teachers can't connect their own cell phones, but the students can.
That's really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Use your datum.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's insanity.
Yeah. So I think that's the way it is. So that's where I'm going in the future. I guess it's just gonna kind of keep plugging away. It's this is for rap music for me. It's not a hobby. It's a habit.
It's not deleting. I think it's saving. We'll have to figure that out for next time.
And so it's a hobby,
Yeah.
and it's something that I'm just ever gonna do.
Yeah, and it's I think that you have enough of a passion for it that, like, it's never something that's gonna die, and it's always something that has a chance. You know what I mean? I think
right.
a lot of people who get a little older give up on it, like give up on the pipe dream aspect of it. But all it takes is, like, the internet is it's such a vast audience that you get to reach out to. Nothing is ever impossible now. Like, you can drop a music video tomorrow,
Yeah.
shot by Mathematical, and
Who
if
knows?
it resonates
Yeah.
enough with the
Enough people,
audience
yeah.
that you're engaging with, and it gets enough shares and enough likes, and then it reaches the next threshold of breaking out into a larger audience, like it's kind of a snowball effect, and anything can happen. You know what I mean? So, like,
It's true.
it's really good and admirable that you still stick with it, and that
Yeah.
it, like, you
I'm
haven't
not
let the
going
passion
anywheres.
die. Exactly.
I'm
I
not
think
going
It's
anywhere.
probably a part of it. Is any of it like therapy to you? 'Cause, like,
Oh,
for
definitely.
me, it's
This
a lot of
album is
therapy.
called Development for a reason, and if you really listen to
did the
the
cover?
lyrics, Ghetto Socks did all the artwork for it.
Right on.
And if you listen to the themes of the songs, you can see where I was and where I was going, and where I plan on keep going. So, I mean, every day is a little bit different, and you just put one foot in front of the other. you know, and you keep charging ahead, whether that's in
Absolutely.
life or in music or your professional career, whatever it is that you want to do. You don't give up. There's going to be bad days.
Yeah, of
There
course.
might be bad weeks. There might be bad years,
Mhm.
but there's always something in there that's
Like a light
positive.
at the end of the tunnel.
There always
You're always
is.
gonna reach it. For
Always
sure.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure, dude.
definitely.
That's what people forget too, man. Because everybody's, not everybody, but I find because of the internet, everything's microwaved. Like people just want everything now,
Right.
and you don't realize how much like you're gonna suck whenever you start doing something. Usually, like yes, you're gonna have natural talent and stuff, but like for the most part, man, like
It's gonna be a grind.
you gotta
But
grind
in
and
a-
you gotta love what you do. It's all about the process, man. Like yes, you want to end goal, but if you don't love what you're doing right now, then
Yeah.
what are you doing?
And another thing too is that social media kind of creates like naturally or nicely packaged chaos. So
Right.
it's like your life can be completely chaotic, but Instagram and Twitter and Facebook give you the opportunity to like eliminate the negativity and
Sometimes
a lot
it-
of
Sometimes
can
it really
choose what you wanna
sometimes it really
consume.
looks like the grass is greener on the other
exactly,
side.
and a lot of people sort of
You don't see
are
the
aware of
behind the
that and
scene.
make it-
You don't see the behind the scenes struggle that person has gotten to
exactly.
to
You
get
see
to
the
that
post
point.
every couple of days, or the post every day that they took when they were having a super good time. They built up a bunch of content, and now maybe
Right.
they're not going. Maybe life isn't going so good,
Right.
but they're still dummy in the post because they
That's
have so
right.
much stuff
Saving
built
the
up,
pictures,
Yeah.
and people don't.
That's
And
crazy.
people
man.
sort of it's like people compare themselves to it and compare their lives to it, and it makes it can make you make you feel lesser, I guess, and that's sort of like one of the negative things about social media.
It is true.
But it's good to have a guy like you on the podcast to sort of let people know that like not everything is like that, in that even somebody who has garnered a certain amount of success and attention, like you still have bad days. And
Absolutely.
and that things aren't always maybe what social media portray them, and that goes for your favorite rapper too. Is that, I mean, he might post all of the good stuff on his Instagram, and the story might always be
But he's
lit,
still a human.
but he's a human being, and
Right.
things
Of
are
course.
like real life is real life for everybody. It doesn't matter where you are,
And that's
who you
why I
are.
don't just post music on my social media, particularly Instagram. I'm a sneaker collector.
Oh yeah.
Favorite
And
favorite sneaker clip.
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
Air Max 1,
Was
easy.
that your first?
Yeah.
What was your first? that
Oh,
you-
I don't know my
No.
first one. It would probably been the Jordan 3 when they originally came
Whoa,
out.
Wow.
But I mean,
Original.
they, I try to post some things about that. I'm a avid snowboarder. I just came back
Yeah,
from the
word.
Rocky Mountains.
Nice. How was that?
It's fantastic.
Amazing.
Where'd you go?
I was in Sun
Banff?
Peaks and Kamloops,
Kamloops,
and
okay.
in
British Columbia.
British Columbia, Silver Star and Vernon, and
I
just spent
briefly-
some time in the mountains snowboarding. So I always try to put some of those adventures up, and I kind of want people to kind of like me as an individual.
As a human, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you for
Not just
Sean.
music, right? So if they're gonna invest any of their time or energy or money in me, it's done because they see me as a person
And it's
and-
genuine.
and it's genuine,
For
right? So you can get your hookups that way,
Yeah,
your
definitely.
sponsorships and clothing hookups, and I've had many hookups over the years that have helped me make my life a little bit easier and give me things and help with some sponsorships to get me a little bit of money to get me here and there and.
And it's all based off a genuine, authentic.
That's what
connection
it
and
is, you
not
know.
like an opportunity that they
That's
see.
right. Yeah. So I've got some really good friends and some really good places that have been very helpful to me over the
That's
past
awesome.
few years. So it's been quite amazing.
I was just looking at some of your stuff, man, when you said that you would decide to do this with us, and I just got something written down. It says your mom's advice. What was your mom's advice? Does that make resonate?
Not to hang around.
Not to hang around.
My mom's a very smart person, and she just told me not to hang around. Be the guy out front.
Mm-hmm.
Be the
Okay.
guy. Be the guy when everybody else is going right. You go left.
Mm-hmm.
Create your own path. Don't be afraid to stay on your own path. Everybody might be driving 120 kilometers an hour on the highway, but you might be traveling a back road. But don't worry, you'll get there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and
Be an
and
individual in a
be an
sense.
individual. Yeah, be yourself.
Follow your heart.
Be thoughtful.
Yeah.
Show empathy and compassion. Be understanding. Stay patient, and use your sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know, she's a smart lady, and I listen to the things that she tells me.
Shout
so
out to mom.
Shout out to my mom.
Shout out to all the moms
You
out
know.
there.
Yeah, so I mean that's probably I think that's a song lyric from
that's exactly what it would've been. I was listening to some of your music.
League of My Own.
Yeah, and I was just writing. I wrote idle, stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So people idle like they're stuck in traffic. I'm not gonna let the end. That's from old news. I'm not gonna let the engine run out and the gas run out just sitting still.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm stuck in traffic. If I got the engine on, it's to move. It's to move forward. Yeah.
Sure.
Even in a traffic jam, I'm still going.
I'll find my way. I'll find my way around
on
it, and
the
I'll
road.
navigate through this the best that I can. So I'm constantly moving forward. So I'm not just stuck.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
It's a respectable mindset.
Yeah. And it's one you have to have. It's one you have to determine that you set this stuff up for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna wait? Are you gonna wait for people and try to pull a bunch of dead weight behind you, or are you just gonna say, do you know what? Time. I'll be friends with all of you, and I'll work on music with all of you. But guess what? It's time for me to kind of to spread my wings a little bit and move out on my own.
Yeah, for sure. That's like I'm sure I don't know if you remember, but I was in a group called SmAK Gang.
Right.
a while
No,
ago.
no, I definitely
And
remember.
that's sort of where things went with us. Is that like everybody sort of sat around idle and nobody was really putting any effort in besides me. So it came to the point where it's like you kind of have to cut.
You
the
have
dead
no
weight
other
and keep pushing
choice, you
forward. And
know?
it's like I honestly like you know what I mean like. You guys are my best friends. I love you guys.
Absolutely.
I want to keep you as a part. Yeah,
No
I wanna
hard
keep you as a part of
feelings.
my life. Like you know what I mean. It's nothing like that. It's just like from like a business standpoint and a creative standpoint. Like we're going in different directions, and all the best to you guys. But I'm not going to be idle in traffic. I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to sit on my ass and wait for an opportunity to land in my lap. I'm going to go out and find the opportunity, and I'm going to make it happen.
Right.
So, and I think that's a mindset that a lot of people, not even just in music, but I think in life, that a lot of people haven't attained yet. They haven't gotten there yet, where it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a sheep. I'm going to be the herder. I'm going to be the one that's in front. I'm going to be the one that keeps pushing. I think it's a super important ideology for people to live their lives by.
It's super important.
Well, whatever anybody loves, and you want to do it. Like, if you're not doing what you love, then you know what I mean.
Then why are you doing
why you like happiness? Everybody, a lot of money and stuff. People say, "Oh, money, you're not." You know what I mean? You need money to be happy, and people always say about the fact that the people say you don't need money to be happy are the ones that have money and stuff. And like, I don't have no money, man, and I'm happy as shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've just
Whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you happy, you gravitate towards that.
I'm
You have to know what makes you happy.
For sure. And strive for it, man.
And a lot of thing with my music is I work with people that I've actually built relationships with.
And it's genuine.
Anybody that's on this
resonates so
album, you know, if
As a
I see
friend
them as a
first.
friend,
Yeah.
you know, and that's super important to me. You know that you do that. I generally don't like to pay for things.
Of course, especially when you have the opportunity to exchange services.
Right. And so I kind of just keep it that way now. I'm noticing now that there's kind of like a buy-in to rap
Explain.
music.
Yeah. Okay, explain though. I agree. but explain.
More than one avenue, I guess. I mean, there's a live performance of the pay to play.
Yes.
That I find bizarro.
In a sense, the only way that it's not bizarre is if you're an app, like if it's your very first, like if you have no connections to get on a show and you want to force yourself onto something.
Right. But that leads me back to the comment that I made about my release show. There was no one young there. You know,
Yeah.
if I plan on shows, I mean, I have people messaging me and saying, you know, put me on the bill. Then they don't show up to the show.
I know that all too well.
Right? They say, put me on the bill. They can't tell me one of the names of the songs on the album that I'm performing that night. When we were growing up, we couldn't do pay to play. That was non-existent. You had to go to shows and you had to introduce yourself first, and then hopefully maybe they would ask you, do you rap?
And for you young cats, that still fucking works. That still works.
It
still
still works.
big time. It works it's much more effective than even a Facebook message to be there
So,
face to face.
just to give you an example, Maestro Fresh West came to St. John in 1997. He played at a small tavern. We were there for sound check. We knew he was there. We knew his DJ was there, Scheme. We knew that. So we went to sound check. We sat as close as we could to the stage while they did sound check, so they could see us.
Yeah.
Then they leave and they go back to wherever they went. And they came back for the show, and we were there. And the show was hype. It wasn't very many people. There might have been 100 people there, but it was hype. It was so high energy. And partway through the show, he comes over to the crowd and he says, "You guys standing there, do you all rap?" And we all went, yes. He invited us up on stage.
That's amazing.
Boom.
That's amazing.
And then we're spitting bars
With Maestro Fresh.
first-
with Maestro Fresh West with a
First
nice
flight
with a
right
nice
into the
with a
culture.
nice hype crowd,
Yeah.
right? So I mean that still works,
What a way to get you addicted to the culture too. To get
Right.
you addicted to.
I mean,
wanting
so
to
it
be on
still
stage.
works. I understand the pay to play maybe if you're going to try to break into a new market
Mhm.
or a new city.
Yeah.
But then you got to think, because the money that I'm investing, am I actually going to win their crowd over?
Yeah.
Is that crowd going to come with me after I leave? Will they remember my name? How memorable can you make that for the amount of money that you spend?
Yeah, and so
And that's part's important. You have to be well rehearsed, you have to be practiced, and you have to be ready. If you're going to spend the money, you got to be ready to go. And then where do you take it from there next?
and you gotta understand, like you gotta like this is something I've ever actually never spoken about publicly, but you gotta like you can invest as much money you want and still get finesse too. Like
Absolutely.
I
see it all the time.
I played a show in London, Ontario that I paid to play on.
Little Yachty,
Lil Yachty, yep. It was
you told me that story.
yeah, it was expensive, and we showed up to the venue, got put on. We were supposed to be like a supporting act. We got there, we're asked to go on second or third, and perform for like 250 kids when we were promised an audience of like 27.
Because they hadn't even opened the doors yet.
And they had they had opened the doors, but the advertised start time of the show was like 10 o'clock, and we went on at like 7:30.
That's because somebody else has got some sort of side hustle going on right
That's
there.
exactly what it was.
That's
It's like we
putting,
were looked
putting
at
you
as,
on beforehand.
or at least because it was me. It was just me at the time. It was Lucas. Foley was there with me, but the advertised name was just me.
Right.
But they looked at me like a come up. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, that's if this guy pays $3,000 to get on the show, he's 30 or 45, 50 less tickets that I have to sell. That
Right.
I have to guarantee sell.
Right.
So that's something that a lot of cats don't realize is that pay to play only makes sense in certain situations, and if you're going to do it, you have to be so on top of your shit and making sure that you're not getting fucked out of a bunch of money. That
Almost like putting it on paper.
like
And like why are you paying to play in your own city?
well that's a whole other thing. That's
I don't understand it.
that's insane.
And the artists in the cities, we can control that by just saying no.
Yeah, which is something that
standing in solidarity. Instead, you see an artist come through and everybody wants to open for them. It's like, could you even name some of their songs? Do you even fit in with that vibe of that show?
Yeah, and that's something sort of that I'll say we as in like the guys that I do like that I do work with and play shows with and tour
Right.
with. That's something that we've veered away from is not that we've ever paid to play in Fredericton. I've never paid to play in Fredericton, but just paying to play in general, because it can be such a finicky situation, and you should want to play in markets that you're appreciated in, and not just to come up and not just getting on to get on a stage, because there are so many other opportunities and so many stages that you can get on without having to do that will be as turn as much of a crowd, if not more of a crowd that will remember you for you and not just be there for the headlining act and see you as like an opener. You know what I mean? Somewhere that your music is going to be more impactful and have more of a long-term return. For sure.
Well, I just got a text message that school's going to be closed for 2 weeks.
I just got
There
that
you
text.
go.
My girlfriend just texted me and said the same thing too.
Wow.
Yeah, her
There you
school.
go, buddy. Fucking 2 weeks off, bro. Where you going?
No, I'm. That's
is
not
probably-
That's not actually not my mentality around
No,
this
I'm
whole
just-
thing. I was very stressed out that
Yeah.
this was actually going to happen. We were starting to make some progress in my classroom with the learning of these kids,
Oh,
and
no.
now I'm kind of worried about what the expectation is going to be as me as a teacher. So I'm definitely going to have an interesting weekend trying to get things
How
sorted
does
out.
that-
Whether or not I go to work on Monday or not, I'm not sure how this is going to work. So
I got
Yeah.
a question about
Very-
the
very
grading,
interesting.
The grading system in elementary schools. How does that work today? Like, what are they? What
People
do
are
you
still people are still trying to figure it out.
Are they still like? Are you doing percentages? Are you
No,
doing
it's
letters? Are you
no,
doing
they're
levels?
numbers. Yeah, levels,
Numbers?
numbers in
Numbers?
levels.
So
Yeah.
like you get like a number 1 and you're like good. Or
No,
or
it's the
some-
opposite. Yeah, and the one is
more
you're
numbers
not.
mean
Yeah,
better.
yeah. So the highest you can get is a 4+. So you're working consistently above grade level. To me, it doesn't really matter. It's the anecdotal stuff and the feedback and the
and do you
critique
guys-
that you give to
do you
students
guys,
and give
like,
them the next steps.
do
So
they
that's what's
fail?
most important.
Do they fail kids or like?
It's
I've just
possible.
been
It's
hearing a bunch of
it's
stuff over the
possible.
years that I don't know about.
possible. It's
They
possible.
just push.
They push a lot of people through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
That's-
The
I mean-
education system is underfunded. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, New Brunswick really doesn't.
Everything's
know.
underfunded in New Brunswick.
know.
But we've got groups of teachers that are dedicated and working and spending their own money. I mean, I went out after school today to spend a bunch of my own money, so I have things for Monday.
Wow.
So you
Shout out
just
to
kind
you
of you
for
just
that,
kind of
man.
you just kind of, and I'm not the only one doing it. There are other
No,
teachers
but,
spending
like,
hundreds of dollars every week
That's a really noble
for
thing,
for
man,
their
'cause it's like
students.
you're bringing value to our community, man, and
I
like
try.
that's the most, in my opinion, that's the most important thing. That's all I want to do, man. I want to bring
Yeah.
value to this community somehow. Share my message, man.
Yeah.
It's all about hope, man. If you
It is.
if you can look at the situation and really have some good perspective about it and take it for what it is and see the positive, even if it's, you know what I mean, a shitty situation. And but a lot of
You
people
work with what you've got.
right, exactly.
You make the best with what you got, and it's the same thing with rap music,
Yeah.
especially Atlantic Canada. There's
Yeah.
only so many opportunities that present themselves, and there's a lot of us fighting for those opportunities. So lately, I just kind of step back and say, go for it. I've had my time in the spotlight.
Yeah.
When I want it, I could probably go get it again.
You got 2 weeks.
I
You
got
got 2
I
weeks.
guess I've got 2 weeks. Yeah, so I'll get things figured out.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Well, before we
Podcast
wrap
number
this
one.
up, let's just get back to what you got going on, man. So you got you dropped this album, development.
Yeah, still promoting that.
Where else can people find it besides the physical copy? Is there anywhere like a Bandcamp?
But it's on my Bandcamp. Yeah.
Okay, so what's your Bandcamp?
Sean1.bandcamp.com.
Okay, so you can get it
So you
there.
can get it there. It's a digital download. There's a price on it, of course.
Yeah.
I'm still of that state of mind that my art is
And you
worth
should
something.
you should be, yeah.
And you can get it off the Black Buffalo website.
Okay.
I'll be playing in Halifax on April 3rd,
Okay.
if that's still a go.
Yeah, which I mean, you're rolling the dice. but-
And we're just gonna kind of keep moving forward with that.
Yeah. So, any plans to get it on to get a DistroKid account and throw it on Spotify and Apple
Yeah,
Music?
I just
and-
had a tutorial there last weekend of
Yeah.
how to use DistroKid,
Yeah.
so that's something that I'm definitely gonna look into.
Definitely do it, bro. I think
Yeah.
that'll be a very, if not profitable in the sense that you get paid off of streams, it'll be a very simple way for you to have direct contact with your audience and help you garner build on to, like, obviously you already have a bit of a cult following where it's like your fans have grown with you, but it'll give you the opportunity to reach out to the younger
Definitely.
generation that will resonate with you, because there are still
Definitely.
kids. I know kids that still listen to hip hop like
Yeah,
real
yeah,
life.
yeah. No, they're
real
still
life rap music.
they're still there.
Yeah, it's not dead.
It's not
at all.
dead.
People think
no.
it is, man. It's
It's-
actually funny if you think about it.
it's-
It's like there are
it's-
so many guys out there that you can even hear it in their music. For example, like a Kendrick or a Joey
The
Badass.
allegory
These
out
guys,
now.
They're there.
these guys are really there. Do you know what I mean?
They're
And-
definitely there.
and
Anything
they
that
have a
Static
fan base.
Selector really touches. Even that new
Exactly.
Paul Wall. Did you hear that new Paul Wall?
No, I
Static
didn't.
Selector.
He's making music. Hey,
Oh,
I
it's
just know
incredible.
him and Johnny are down there making tons of chains and
Yeah.
teeth and
No, his album with Static Selector is incredible.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah,
really appreciate
check it out.
man.
Sipset, Black Buffalo Records.
Yeah, go get Sean's album, Sean
Uh,
One Bandcamp. You can get it at Black Buffalo Records.
And I'm sure they'll share a link to it all.
Yeah, we'll definitely put the link down below. You guys will be able to click on it and get right to it.
Yeah.
Sean, we appreciate you coming out, man, and doing
Thank
the first
you.
episode of the podcast, man.
Thank you for reaching out
No,
and thinking
it
that
means a lot
it's
for real,
now
man.
for
Yeah,
us.
you made it
For me to have
made the trip out to
have
the
the
middle of
old
nowhere.
old man Shiggy Sean One on your podcast.
That's
so
right, brother. And
Sean Juan.
once
100.
I had to Google what a podcast was. Joking.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
all right, this has been the 506 podcast. This is our first episode. We appreciate y'all tuning in. My name's Lucas.
SmAK SHadE.
You can find us on Instagram. The links will all be below, and we
Thank you
appreciate.
for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching and tuning in, man.
Really appreciate everybody.
That's it. 506 Hip Hop Spot, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
Peace.
Episode 1, baby. Let's go.
This is gangsta only section, no